Parfait.
We are live.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome to May the 4th council meeting. We'll get this meeting started. I'll ask for a roll call if members of council can just announce their name for the record, please.
Michael Ternosky here.
André Brisson ici.
Jamie Lauren.
Cindy Saucier here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And confirmation, our clerk is here as well.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll start off a suspension of the rules of procedure. Motion that council suspends the rules of procedure to amend council's rule of procedure to remove items number 2, prayer, and 3, national anthem, from the agenda since the meeting will be held electronic participation. Moved by conseiller Ternosky, seconded by conseiller Brisson. You guys are okay with that?
Yes.
Oui.
Perfect. All those in favor?
Yes.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, it is carried. So item 2 and 3 are taken care of. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. Did we have any changes from the council members or the administration? Hearing none, we'll move on to adoption of the agenda. Motion d'adopter l'ordre du jour tel que présenté, proposé par M. Lorrain, secondé par conseillère Saucier. Vous êtes correct avec ça?
Yep.
Yes.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. All those in favor?
Yes.
Oui.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. No one opposed? Carried. Item 6, disclosure pecuniary interest. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, adoption of minutes. Motion d'approuver le procès verbal tel que présenté pour la séance ordinaire du conseil du 20 avril 2020. Proposé par conseiller Brisson, appuyé par conseiller Ternosky. Vous êtes correct avec ça?
Oui.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Parfait. Thank you very much. Carried. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Item 9, delegations, we have none. Item 10, consent items. Motion that items listed under consent items be received as presented. A, minutes of the United Counties of Prescott and Russell, March 25th, 2020, regular and special meeting. And item B, minutes of the Township of Russell Public Library Board, March 26th, 2020. Moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. You're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All those in favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. All those in favor? No one opposed? Carried. We shall now move on to item 11, reports from departments and council committees. The first item is the item A, 2019 financial statements presentation report FS 16 2020. The council receives report FS 16 2020 dated May 4th, 2020 and acknowledges receipt of the 2019 financial statements presented by BDO Canada, our external auditors. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Godin.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, chers membres du conseil. Donc c'est ça, we're presenting our financial statements tonight to council. Madame Annick Blanchard from BDO is with us to help with the presentation and to help me answer any questions that council may have. So I'm gonna let Annick speak right now to give you a short summary of what the financial statements look like, and afterwards I'll be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Godin. Madame Blanchard, bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Fait que je peux passer avec les états financiers?
Oui, définitivement, allez-y.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for having us on the call. I'll do, I guess, half English, half French. If you have questions, let me know. I'll go briefly, like I know you had a chance to read the documents already, so I'll just go kind of briefly. On page 2, you have the statement of management responsibility. So basically, the statements are not our statements as auditors, but they're management's information. So that's why this is included. Then on pages 3, 4, and 5, we have our auditor's report. So I think the key point to mention here is the clean audit opinion. So for the year ended December 31st, 2019, in accordance with the Canadian accounting standards for public sector organizations. Then the report goes into details about management responsibilities, those charged with governance, in this case council, and then the auditors. Assuming council approves the statements tonight, they'll be dated on May 4th, and I'll sign on behalf of the firm. On page 6, we have the statement of financial position, so similar to balance sheet for the types of organizations. So showing the assets at financial assets at 16.8 million. Basically, most of that would be cash. And then you have the liabilities at 30 million for net debt of 13 million. And then at the bottom, you have the non-financial assets, so anything that's tangible. So mainly the tangible capital assets at 140 million. And then the accumulated surplus of 126 million. But basically, these are shown in note 13 where those are already promised for. So it's not money that the municipality can just go and spend. Just something that I guess is probably a question that you might have is why cash is higher than last year. It's basically a timing. There was deferred revenues received at the end of the year, and also grants that were received at the end of the year. Then on page 7, you have the statement of operations, so the revenues and expenses for the year. So at the top, you have regular revenues. When I say regular, it's basically the ones that are not for capital assets. So those are at 29 million this year. The increase compared to 2018 are as expected. So increase in taxation because there's more there's more taxpayers now, and then user charges, but also as expected. And then you have the expenses of for the year, so 27 million, so close to the budget, and a bit slight increase from last year, but as expected because you do have the increase in revenues. And then at the bottom, you have the other revenue. So those are revenues that are for capital assets. So that's why you show them separately. It wouldn't be fair to consider them together because of these amounts, most municipalities create surpluses for the year. But on the flip side, you have the capital assets, which will be amortized and cause an expense for a number of years, 10 to 40 years, depending on what type it is. So that's why we show it separately. So to show that yes, you do have an annual surplus of 6 million, but most of it is for assets that were purchased that will have to be amortized.
Okay. Any questions, members of council, at this point? No, I think we're good. Madame Blanchard, tu peux continuer.
Merci. On page 8, you have the statement of changes in net debt, balancing the net debt you had at the end of 2018 of 17.9 million to the end of 2019. So basically, that's a concept that's only in the public sector financial statements. So showing financial assets minus, I guess, liabilities, which are always financial, just to show the net impact. On page 9, you have the statement of cash flows. So basically here, that's where we reconcile the cash at the end of 2018 to the cash at the end of 2019. So cash at 2.7 million is now 8 million. So basically where the increase comes from is the operating transactions. Then in the notes, I won't go into details for most of them. So pages 10, 11, 12 are the accounting policies. There's no change in the accounting standards this year, so that note remains the same. When we look at the other notes, most of them are just more information on items that are either in the balance sheet or the statement of operations. So I don't think there's anything that to be highlighted. The one note and I'm flipping to the high end, not flipping fast enough. So note 13 is one that I think is important on page 20. So it shows the accumulated surplus and where these funds are already promised or where these funds are already spent. So not seeing the surplus as just one number, but it's basically most of these items are committed or spent. And then the other note that's new this year would be note 17, so subsequent events, showing that COVID-19 has an impact, so there'll be an impact on revenue. So a lot of example, some arenas and so forth are closed. The other part is delay for taxation revenue, taxation revenue to come in, interest on taxation. So there's an impact. So here we're saying we don't know the full impact. If there's no going concern issue with the municipality, so basically just a standard note that highlights it at this point, unless management or council wants an expanded note, we're comfortable with that.
Okay.
So
Anything
that covers the statement.
Excuse, vas-y, Madame Blanchard.
Non, c'est juste ça pour dire que ça couvrait les états financiers puis voir si vous aviez des questions.
Oui, les membres du conseil, y a-t-il des questions à ce point-ci? No. I don't need any questions, Madame Blanchard.
Okay. The other report that you had was our report to council. I guess we can go briefly with it if you're fine with that.
Sure, go ahead.
So it's basically just confirming that the audit was performed as we had presented to council. So that's the main item. Materiality was increased just to reflect the actual revenues. Reconfirming the audit findings. So on page 5, that's where we covered the risks and significant risks we had presented. So there's no issues that were noted, and we conferred with what management had. And then we showed the unadjusted differences. There's not a lot this year. So I think last year there's more being the first year we were the auditors. Journal entries, same thing, there's not a lot. And I think the one I wanted to also show is on page B, the management letter. Last year we had probably 7 or 8 items on this letter, and we're down to 1, which is a new one. So all the other points from last year are either all addressed or in the process of being addressed. So I think management did a very good job this year to address our points. And like on our side, we did half the audit on site and half the audit remotely due to the fact that it was mid-March, and we had full cooperation from management, and it was very smooth. So thank you to your team.
Thank you very much. It's always good to hear. Monsieur Godin, t'avais-tu quelque chose à ajouter?
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire. Donc, premièrement, je veux remercier Yannick pour ton temps ce soir pour présenter ça, puis pour tout le travail avec l'équipe que vous avez fait. I did want to highlight something in the financial statements to council in regards to the consolidated statement of financial position. So more specifically, the line where we see our cash, because you will see a major increase in our cash. And the reason I wanted to flag it to you is, first of all, it's going to be it's important to understand it since it's bringing us in a good position as far as cash flow goes, which is an important detail when we'll speak about the COVID-19 later on. And just to explain why there's such a variance in our cash from this year end versus the previous one, Madame Tremblay from the Planning and Building Departments presented some reports about growth and how many building permits we've issued. And this has had a significant impact on our reserves as multiple $1 million in DC reserves, more than we were expecting, as well as building permit fees that we collected. So those are the 2 main factors. And obviously with the growth comes a lot more revenues with more users for water and sewer, for waste, and more taxpayers. So that's that was a major impact for in regards to cash, but I did want to flag that because it's a large number, and it is a detail that will be impacting decisions in other reports this year. So
Definitely.
but, yeah, no problem.
All right. as stated, we do anticipate always during budget session a anticipated growth level. But as we saw earlier in the year, 2019 was a fabulous year, which was higher than we expected. And, we're never going to complain that we're growing too fast at this point in time, especially with the projects we had planned for the future. But I think this is a great statement, great report. So thank you very much, Madame Blanchard. I'll just ask a final question if members of council have any comments or questions in regards to this report.
I do have a question.
Okay, Councillor Tarnowski.
Yeah, so félicitations, excellent audit and results. I did have a question pertaining to the note that was given in terms of the practice of not itemizing the invoices there. Is that policy been adjusted, practice policy been adjusted?
Yeah, so we definitely appreciate the note. We always like to have our financial auditors' feedback. And as far as that note goes, so yes, we have had some discussions internally in the finance team, and we will be following that information forward to the departments as well, just to make sure. It already is in our procedures and policies to have background information when we do claims and invoices and stuff like that. But I think, and maybe Madame Blanchard can speak more on that, but they might have fallen on certain transactions where we were missing certain things or certain details. So we definitely are looking into improving that procedure in practice.
Merci.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. D'autres questions, membres du conseil? Hearing none. Again, thank you very much, Madame Blanchard, for the excellent work, and we're proud to receive this evening.
Merci. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item, we'll move on to item B, which is the 2020 Final Tax Rates Report FS 12 2020. Que le Conseil reçoit le rapport FS 12 2020 daté du 4 mai 2020 et adopte le règlement proposé établissant les taux de taxe finale 2020 pour toutes les catégories et qui prévoit une augmentation de taxe de 4 % telle qu'approuvée par le Conseil avec le budget 2020. Proposé par Councillor Saucier, secondé par Councillor Tarnowski. Vous êtes correct avec ça?
Yes.
Can we ask some questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Tarnowski.
Je vais juste.
Mr. Mayor,
I didn't need a mover and a seconder at this point,
I was
right?
just going to ask that.
yes, correct.
Sorry, got ahead of myself. Go
Very
ahead,
good.
Councillor Tarnowski.
Okay. So I just wanted to just a clarification to be sure. So I know we're going to be talking about the COVID impacts later on in the meeting, and I understand that this is pertaining to tax revenue. I just wondered, is there any COVID or potential impact that we're not analyzing that's coming from taxation? So I know that, like in the other report later on when we talk about it, I saw the revenues that might be impacted and so on, but we don't talk about taxation unless I didn't see it. And I don't think it has an impact, but I just wanted to ask the question to be sure that I'm not missing something here.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Tarnowski. Conseiller. Monsieur Godin, s'il vous plaît.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if I understand your question correctly, so you're asking if the COVID-19 or if we're looking at the COVID-19 having impacts on our tax revenues. There's no, well, at this point in time, I mean, unless council will make some decisions elsewise, there won't be any impact on the taxation revenue since we are collecting taxes based on the rates that we've established. Where there could be impacts is if growth slows down and we don't have our supplementary taxation revenues that was anticipated. That's definitely a possibility. As far the only revenues that we did adjust in our analysis was on interest, because council has made a decision for April and May to not charge interest on outstanding tax arrears. If the situation keeps going for a while, we will be bringing a report to council before it comes time to charge June interest, just to see where council sits and to make a recommendation on that. So we did include that into the analysis. But as far as the tax roll has been released and we have our tax rates, so those tax revenues are going to be collected, or they're going to be invoiced. definitely. So those
Yeah,
revenues
okay.
are guaranteed.
Okay, so that's kind of what I understood. I just wanted to be 100% sure. And then the follow-up question is, so just to confirm that really this 4% total increase is a 1.58 real kind of increase for the first time since 2011. Am I accurate in understanding that? Because I know with the property values that go up, there's a certain amount of increase that comes in, but the real increase in terms of what we're paying on a per dollar basis has gone up by 1.58%. Is that correct?
That's
Mr.
correct.
Godin?
Oh, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. So the actual tax rate, so the per dollar, yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
It's 1.58%.
OK, merci beaucoup.
Parfait. D'autres questions, membres du conseil? No other questions? Quelque chose à ajouter, Monsieur Godin?
Non, merci.
No? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item C, County Municipal Roads Transfers Fund, Report FS 13 2020. That council receives Report FS 13 2020 dated May 4th, 2020, and approves the bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the attached agreement, Schedule A, County Municipal Roads Transfer Funds Agreement, between the Corporation of the United Counties of Prescott and Russell and the Corporation of the Township of Russell. And that council further approves using the $383,035.12 funding available only in 2020 from the UCPR to finance the Blaise Street Culvert Replacement Project. Questions from members of council? Hearing none. This is similar to what we've received in the past. Monsieur Bourgon, as-tu quelque chose à ajouter?
Merci, M. le maire. Non, pas de commentaire. C'est toujours apprécié d'avoir un montant qui augmente, donc ça nous donne du financement pour d'autres projets.
Parfait. Tout le temps une bonne chose. Don't know how many years this will continue, but we're glad to have it every single year we do get it. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item. COVID-19 Budget Impact Report, FS 14 2020. The council receives report FS 14 2020 dated May 4th, 2020 for information purposes. Monsieur Godin, I'll ask you to go through this report so anybody who's watching from members of the public have a good understanding as to what the current situation is with the impact of COVID-19 on the municipality from a financial standpoint.
Oui, définitivement, Monsieur le Maire. So essentially what we're looking at is, we've prepared some high-level projections, kind of estimates of where this could lead financially for the municipality. What we've done, we decided to go a month-by-month basis, so we're able to illustrate if this pandemic lasts till August, we could be looking at so-and-so losses, and if it keeps going till the end of the year, just a comparison with the budget of the revenues we could be losing and or the costs that we could be incurring in addition to what we had in the budget. So the main factors that we've looked at, and like I said, these are projections, really estimates. It's hard to say for sure what's going to happen, but we're looking at lost revenues specifically, or in a major part for building permits that we can't issue anymore for the time being. For revenues at the Dome and at the arenas, if the pandemic was to last past this autumn, revenues from transit that we're not collecting because of suspended services, as well as interest revenues on tax and water and sewer bills. And also there are still some savings. Working from home or certain services that were suspended, there's payroll costs that are saved. There's a bit of the fuel costs are lower. Obviously, we're using less fuel, and the fuel we're using is costing less. And there's obviously less travel and less conventions and things like that. But essentially, what we're presenting is kind of graphics and tables of what kind of impact this could have on a township, on a township's financial implication. So if you had a look at the graphics, we're looking at depending how long this lasts. Based on the estimates we've done, if this was to last until the end of August, for example, then we could be looking at about $675,000 in losses or in extra costs to recuperate, and $155,000. And it's important that I do the asterisk, about 150,000 of that is from taxation supported departments, which means that the rest is from user fee departments where we do have some surplus reserves that can help out in funding those. If the pandemic was to be long term, if we were to hit a second wave and if this was to last the whole year, we could be looking at upwards of $1.5 million for the whole year of 2020. Again, taxation supported departments, we would be looking at about $550,000 in potential losses to recuperate. So like I said, I mean, those are really some high level numbers just to give council an idea of the potential or the possibilities of losses that we're going to have to recuperate. That being said, I did want to mention to council as well that the administration feels that we can still get through this year without necessarily impacting the 2021 budget. Obviously, if the pandemic goes forward into 2021, that would be a different story. But with the user fee department surplus reserves and there's, like I mentioned, or like you've seen in the tax rate revenue, we do have $170,000 in additional revenue there based on more growth than anticipated. If there were to be a 2020 surplus, an operational surplus, that could always be applied towards these losses. And I mean, and last resort, if you will, there is a 2019 budget surplus that we were in another report proposing to allocate towards the dome financing. Or actually, sorry, council adopted that we would do that back in December. If it came to it, we could always reallocate that towards this pandemic, or revised service level and staff reviews would be another option that could come down the line. So basically, like I said, the administration feels that we can get through this for now. So we're not recommending any specific action at this point in time. We wanted to brief council to give you an idea where we are. I think we will definitely, well, not I think, we will definitely report back to council as the situation evolves, be it at the end of the pandemic, if it comes sooner than later, or during budget sessions. We'll definitely touch base on how this impacted us. We'll have a better idea of the actual numbers, and we'll get it back to council with recommendations on that at that point in time. And if there were a need for reallocation of the 2019 surplus or service level reviews, then council could expect a report to council probably in early autumn or early fall, where this is really going to start impacting the township with arenas staying closed and stuff like that. Donc ça, c'est juste un survol un petit peu du travail qu'on a fait sur le dossier, puis de qu'est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre financièrement en tant que municipalité par rapport à la pandémie.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup, M. Godin. Évidemment, il y a un impact, c'est certain. It's nice that we were financially in a good spot to begin with entering into this year. It gives us a little bit of a cushion if need be. But it still definitely has an impact on the township. Questions from members of council? Councillor Tarnowski?
C'est bon? OK. Just give me a second, pull up my questions. Premièrement, merci pour le beau travail. J'avais juste une couple de questions sur some of the assumptions that were made in the report. So first of all, if I may, I'm assuming that the numbers that we're seeing here are net. So, savings minus any expenses, right? So they're net and added on. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Line 360, the transit, where a loss of 129K. Is that under the assumption of no transit, or are we also looking at the limited distancing transit, i.e. where we can't take as many passengers? Which one did you use on that?
So these the assumptions for transit is that as of the month of May, the service is suspended, and that we're not collecting any revenues from user fees at all. But we do have to keep paying 50% of the invoice with the contract.
Okay.
Those are the assumptions that were made here. Okay,
so meaning no service whatsoever and still paying the minimum.
That's correct.
Okay. 751.55, the arenas, assuming this includes revenues expenses, why does Russell climb so much faster do they have that much more revenues in Q4 compared to Emblem? Like if I look at the relative increases in losses, is it that much busier in Russell? And it might be.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm just having a quick look at the to see if something specific that jumps out.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, membre du conseil. No, I would believe that Emblem is busier than Russell, and usually this is where we're generating a little bit more revenues. So I'm not sure why Russell would be higher than Emblem at that point. Maybe we'd have to revise that one.
Yeah. So. Monsieur Goudet?
Go ahead, Councillor Tanaka.
Okay, well, there's about at the end of the projection, there's about I would say about $65,000-$70,000 difference in losses between one and the other. So I was just wondering what the assumption was around that.
Mr. Godet?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically the assumptions that were made was, again, a zero revenue from user fees during the period. Also, there are some costs, some of the expenses that were adjusted. So I'm just trying to look at the tables that were prepared to see if Russell or if Emblem had a specific cost center that was projected higher than the other for a particular reason. I don't have a specific answer for you right now, but I am looking into it.
No problem. I have a couple more points to make then.
Can I make a follow-up on that one though, before we move on to another topic of it?
Yeah, Councillor Laurent, go ahead.
Sorry. So in that, we're saying that Russell's revenue is going to be less than Emblem's revenue?
No, just losses.
Yes.
So,
yeah, Monsieur Godin.
Yeah, no, I was just going to confirm that essentially what we're saying is not necessarily the revenues per se, but the impact of the pandemic is presenting it to be higher on the Russell side than the Emblem side.
And I guess the follow-up for me then is, you know, the Emblem Arena opens before the Russell Arena, right? They open almost a month before Russell. So what other losses will we have for Russell that would outweigh that full month's worth of revenue? It just doesn't, to me, it seems backwards.
So I think, Monsieur Godin, you mentioned that you're going to be looking into it and confirm those numbers if they're need to be or not. Yeah, you're muted.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, Madame Guitard, t'avais-tu quelque chose à ajouter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And like Councillor Laurent said, yes, definitely the impact should be bigger on Emblem because we opened earlier and the impact should be bigger. So there must be some kind of, for 65K, it might be the staff, like the way the salaries are distributed, but not for that kind of amount of money. So we will have to have another look at that one.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm on conseil. Everybody, thank you very much for letting me speak, Mr. Mayor. I also think that those are operational expenses. So there were a lot of capital work done in the previous years. These might be a repayment of expenses from previous capital projects. So this sometimes explains why maybe in our normal operations, I can understand why you would make the argument that Emblem loses probably more than in Russell, but maybe from the operational repayment of loans and stuff like that, this might cause this difference. So we'll have a look at those numbers and there's certainly a justification for it. If there's a mistake, well, they're still in forecasting here, so they could be changed at any time.
Okay, thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc. Other members of the council?
Can I just keep going? I have a few more to check with.
We have Conseil Brisson, I believe, has a question as well, so we'll give him an opportunity and we'll come back. Councillor Johnson.
OK, moi, c'était juste savoir, M. Godin, jusqu'à cette heure, la conséquence du Corona, pour combien de taxes qui a été payé jusqu'à cette heure, le pourcentage?
As-tu ce chiffre-là, M. Godin? I know we've
Oui.
given an extension, but how much has actually been collected?
Est-ce que tu veux dire pour les revenus intérêts, tu parles?
Non.
Est-ce que je peux vous donner, tu veux dire l'impact jusqu'à aujourd'hui, mettons?
Ben, comme combien qu'on était supposé recevoir, c'était comme 5 millions, puis on a reçu 4 millions, qui est juste à peu près un petit peu plus que 55%. C'est quoi les chiffres un peu ou les pourcentages?
Oui, merci. Donc, je n'ai pas le chiffre exact en date d'aujourd'hui. Par contre, je sais que quand on a rapporté le rapport et quand la décision avait été faite, c'était déjà après la date d'échéance pour les taxes. Donc, à ce moment-là, quand on parlait je pense que c'était le 4 avril, la collecte ou bien les taxes qui étaient dues pour la fin mars, c'était environ 7,5 millions, puis on avait déjà collecté quand même environ 6,8 millions. Donc, je sais que le montant de taxes à être collecté, il n'y a pas beaucoup d'arrêtage en ce moment. Je vais avoir une meilleure idée à la fin du mois de mai, quand que le deuxième talon de paiement va être dû, s'il va y avoir eu des montants ajoutés à ça.
Parfait, merci beaucoup, M. Godin. Any other questions? I know Councillor Tarnowski has a few. Other members of council, did we have any? No, so continue, Councillor Tarnowski.
Thank you. So moving down the line, so I wanted to ask account 120, the assumption around the 80K loss for admin. Some months it was at 5,000, other months at 10,000. Just to understand the assumptions around that.
Through you, Ms. Mayor. So for the account 120, this is where we're accounting for losses for interest revenues. The reason some months are higher than others, we analyze the previous years, and definitely when on a month that's a month after the taxes are due, we always have a spike in interest because some people just forget or they're a couple of weeks late. And so, for example, if taxes are due on March 27th, the April interest will usually be higher than the May interest because some people will pay during the April. So that's why you see kind of peaks and.
Okay, that makes total sense to me. That's great. I was on line 250, the building inspections. That is a major loss. That's that's assuming that we're not doing any inspections. Is that correct?
So through Ms. Mayor, so not specifically for inspections, but this is assuming we're not issuing any building permits. Okay. Because the province did announce that we had to suspend the issuance of building permits. That being said, when it was announced, a lot of builders applied and a lot of building permits were issued. So that's why we see that for the months of March and April, we're actually in a surplus situation. But after that, I mean, we do collect a lot of building permit fees every month. And at this moment in time, we can't collect any. Definitely, I think the construction or the construction industry might be one of the first to be kind of released. So that those estimates probably are aggressive in the sense that it's unlikely that we will really have $750,000 in losses, but the assumptions are made based on the current situations and if those current situations continue all year.
Okay.
So those are the assumptions.
So,
Monsieur Leduc?
Yeah, to add on that, Councillor Tarnowski and Mr. Godin, the Premier on Friday or Thursday announced that as of today, now excavation and utility servicing of those properties can now go ahead. So this is just a lead into an approval of authorizing those construction permits soon. So I think our assumption here was done 2 weeks back. It seems a long time ago already. But certainly, I think we can anticipate some revenues from construction permits issuance in the near future. So those are the worst case scenarios where there's none issued from now to the end of the year. So we know this won't be the case.
Excellent. So just on that point, it's interesting because it is very fluid, as you were saying. So I was wondering if there is an appetite as we go through this, if we can every time we meet, like maybe have an update on this kind of, on this document, as I'm sure it's going to be changing a lot. I think it would be good from our perspective. Having said all of that and having said my piece, I really want to congratulate the township and Mr. Godin, but the whole administration, in terms of our ability to handle this kind of like uncertainty and everything else. I'm really proud to see our ability to kind of get through this with the reserves, with the surpluses and so on. It's almost like someone losing a job but still having some money in the bank rather than just living paycheck to paycheck. So the asset reserves and everything else that we practice, which are mandated and everything, I'm glad we're doing that for sure. So good job. Congratulations.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Tarnowski. Other questions, members of council? Hearing none. Anything else to add from the administration?
No, c'est tout.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor,
Wait, Monsieur Leduc.
we were planning to come back at, probably with an first meeting of August report. If things change, if the changes were not dramatic, if they're more dramatic, to Councilor Tarnowski's point, if they were dramatic enough that we need to come back to council ahead of time, then we probably will come back. But we'll have to play it by ear to see how fast things evolve, and maybe we'll come back earlier, and maybe not. Maybe the August will be enough. So it's hard to say today where we're at.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure the administration will do a fine job determining when it needs to come back to council. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll move on to the next report, item E, que le conseil reçoit le rapport FS 15-2020 daté du 4 mai 2020 et accuse réception du rapport financier final de 2019. Questions, comments, members of council?
Me again.
Councillor Tarnowski?
All right, so I just a process question. What's the reasoning behind having the before and after daycare versus the preschool daycare as separate accounts? What's the argument? If one is constantly losing money, why have them separate? I was just wondering.
I think, well, originally we started off with simply the before and after program, and then the all-day program was added later on, a few years after we started the program. I'm not sure if that's why, Monsieur Godin, we have them separate.
Yeah, through Ms. Mayor. So I mean, that's correct. So one of those services is relatively new. So it was a new chart of account created once that new service was offered. I think obviously they could be combined, but at the same time, I think it's good practice to keep them separate, just so we're able to evaluate both different services, what they cost to the township, and I mean adjust our strategies accordingly. At the end of the day, they both follow the same strategies, whereas their surplus or their deficit is put into a reserve and or taken from a reserve and managed that way. But the reason we are keeping them separate is to really have a good understanding of the financial situation of each separate service.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think as well as mandated by the province in the next few years, the township itself will have to do a level of service evaluation. So as you mentioned, we have to have those service levels separate so we can evaluate them properly individually. D'autres questions, membres du conseil?
Can I add something, Mr. Mayor?
Oui, Madame Guittard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. And also very important, it's two different daycare licenses with the ministry. So this is one main reason that we want to keep them separate.
Okay, thank you very much for that further information, Madame Guittard. Anything else, members of council? Hearing none. Anything else to add, Monsieur Godin?
Well, maybe just to highlight, through Mr. Mayor, just to highlight council's decision in December to allocate the budget surplus to the dome financing. So we did allocate it there, and the dome will pretty much be financed with this transfer by at the end of 2019. So if we come back to the rec complex strategy or financing strategy that we've been implementing since last year, all the funds that are being put aside now are going directly into that rec complex reserve, and the dome itself is actually financed almost 100%. I think we're missing maybe $10,000.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Godin. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Item F, Russell Transpo COVID-19 Report EcoDev 04-2020. The council receives the information report EcoDev 04-2020 dated May 4, 2020 to suspend the public transportation at Township of Russell Transpo. Questions, members of council? Councillor
Can you see
Tonosky?
me? Yeah, thanks. So I just had a question pertaining to that. I know there's contractual obligations and so on, and now we're going to be paying the cost of 50%. Have we put in any thought or considerations of once we reactivate this service, and if there is a physical distancing requirement, the long-term implication of our cost? Because I know that it's already subsidized, the public transportation, but now if we can only put half as many people on a bus as we would have, what's that kind of longer term impact, and you know, what does that mean as of today now?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tonosky. Monsieur Godin, Madame Tremblay.
Bonsoir, membre du conseil. Donc, non, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on a eu de discussion avec notre provider. Oui, c'est quelque chose qu'on pourrait éventuellement anticiper. Je sais quand on avait réduit à un autobus, on s'était assuré là, que les distances sociales étaient respectées en mettant des enseignes sur un des bancs pour s'assurer que pour pas qu'il y ait deux personnes l'une à côté de l'autre. Mais évidemment, si tout le monde retourne travailler en même temps, c'est quelque chose qu'il va falloir considérer. Fait que oui, je vais avoir une conversation avec Mario là, de Calicette Bossin pour voir comment on pourrait tranquillement, pas vite, recommencer à offrir du service.
Merci beaucoup. D'autres questions, membres du conseil?
Monsieur le maire.
Oui, Monsieur Leduc.
Bonsoir. Je pense qu'ici, on s'attendait, nous, qu'on retourne progressivement. Donc, on peut-être que les autobus vont être aussi progressifs. On ne sait pas comment vite ça va être qui va t'appeler à retourner au travail en premier, si tu le fédéral ou le privé. Puis je pense que Mme Tremblay a là son survey. Les gens ont répondu où ils travaillent. Possiblement, on sait c'est déjà ces informations-là. Donc, on va savoir une idée qui retourne quand. Puis sûrement que là, on aura une idée la distanciation, va-t-il respecter ou non? Est-ce que les masques vont suffire? Est-ce que la distance va être requise? Donc, on joue un petit peu avec incertitude, donc on va sûrement suivre ça de proche, puis voir justement comment on va retourner ça. Il y avait un autobus additionnel qui était mis sur pied, donc on a déjà les dépenses de prévues au budget de mettre un 5e autobus. Là. Il reste à voir si ça va être notre solution pour disperser les gens ou distancer les gens là, de retour ou en allant au travail le matin. So we'll have to see, I guess, and wait for Mrs. Tremblay to have discussions further with 417 bus lines. But I think that's how we were thinking. That, you know, once it goes back, it will go back slowly or progressively, and maybe the numbers we have will be sufficient for what decision the province will make.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leduc. Yeah, a lot of incertitude at this point in time because we're waiting. We're sort of like in a holding pattern with the provincial government to see what restrictions are going to be lifting and what measures they want to keep in place. So as we get closer to that evaluation and we have more information, then we'll be in a better position to know where we stand. So thank you very much. D'autres questions? Madame Tremblay, vas-y.
Yes, so I just wanted to mention that the notice for cancellation was sent last week to the users of the buses, so the people that are usually are rider of the Russell Transport, and we had no complaints. We just had the people that were happy that we were keeping them informed. So basically nobody is impacted by this because they were not using the service. There were 3 people and nobody mentioned anything negative about us. I think people were understanding of the situation and understand our position. So I just want to reassure members of council that even though this news is kind of not knowing where we're going, people were really receptive of the decision that we're making.
Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay, and thank you to you and your team for making sure that our users are well informed as to where the township stands with the transport service. Obviously, we love to get back to normal, and we'll get there eventually, or whatever the new normal will be. But the transport service is something that that was working very well, and we'd like to continue that service. If there's no further questions, we'll move on to the next item. The next item on the agenda is item G, Design of Intersections Report ISPW 11-2020. that council receives report ISPW 11-2020 dated May 4th, 2020, and 1, approves the proposed bylaw to accept the bid received from BT Engineering, Inc. for the design of 4 intersections along Route 300, and 2, accepts the consulting fees of $214,785 plus $3,780.22, equaling $218,565.22, 1.76% municipal portion of HST included. And 3, approves to increase the 2020 budget by $118,565, and that such expense be covered by the DC Reserve. And 4, that the administration proceeds to consult and discuss the feasibility study with the United Counties of Prescott and Russell and the nation and report back to council at a later time. And 5, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the contract. Questions from members of council?
Oui, j'aurais. Oui, Pierre.
Edson?
Oui, il parle de 4 intersections, mais il y en a 3 que c'est avec la municipalité, mais on a 2 avec les comtés unis. Il y a celle pour le chemin Limoges, mais il y a celle avec le chemin Saint-Guillaume. Le 4, c'est qui n'est pas inclus dedans?
Oui, merci. Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Donc, l'intersection Route 300 Saint-Guillaume ne fait pas partie là, de ce projet ici. Donc, l'intersection partagée avec les comtés, c'est seulement l'intersection chemin Limoges.
Et c'était quoi encore? Là?
Vas-y, excuse.
C'était quoi la raison encore que... Parce que l'autre est encore plus pressante? C'est-tu parce qu'elle est dealée avec, justement, plus urgent et à part des autres de la Saint-Guillaume?
Ben, pour l'instant, il y a déjà eu des améliorations qui ont été apportées. À l'intersection de Saint-Guillaume, il y a eu un virage à gauche lorsque tu s'en vas direction sud. Donc, les 4 autres n'ont pas eu d'intervention à ce jour. Donc, c'est pour cette raison qu'on se concentre sur les 4 autres puis se préparer en conséquence pour que quand excusez-moi l'anglicisme, le trigger de croissance survient, on va pouvoir passer à la construction immédiatement.
Un commentaire, tant qu'à parler de ça. Je vois comme à l'intersection de Limoges que oui, il y a de quoi à faire, mais les 3 autres intersections avec excusez l'anglicisme, le four-way stop, même s'il y a un petit peu plus de trafic, je vois pas tellement un problème là à dépenser de l'argent comme c'est là à voir parce qu'il n'y a pas tellement là, de... C'est mon opinion, là.
Okay. Monsieur Bourgon?
Ben, juste pour ajouter sur ce point-là, c'est un peu ce que on veut en venir. C'est qu'on a fait une étude, on le sait que dans le temps, ils vont avoir besoin d'amélioration. Donc, on tourne devant les coûts, on se prépare, on fait les designs requis pour les voies de virage qui vont être requis dans le futur. Puis au moment où il va y avoir justement un problème, on peut procéder immédiatement à la construction. Donc, on prend de l'avance, puis on prend avantage de faire plusieurs intersections ensemble parmi un projet.
OK. Parfait. Merci beaucoup. D'autres questions, membres du conseil?
I have a question.
Yeah, Councillor Chinaski.
Monsieur Bourgon, juste une question. Le 32 000 provisional items, est-ce que je peux juste me faire expliquer ça veut dire quoi?
Donc, dans l'appel d'offres qu'on a fait, il y a plusieurs critères qu'on a demandé aux consultants de nous donner des prix. Puis, il y en a 2. On demande de regarder la feasibility, si c'est réaliste de faire des ronds-points à l'intersection de la route Limoges et Saint-Pierre. Mais dans leur prix, ils ont aussi de faire designer des intersections avec des lumières de rue et un rond-point. Mais seulement un des 2 va avoir lieu. Donc, à faire des justes, on voulait évaluer le montant total des entrepreneurs, mais c'est pour cette raison qu'il y a un montant qui ne sera pas utilisé de cette façon-là à cause ça va être un ou l'autre.
OK, je comprends. Merci.
Merci. D'autres questions, membres du conseil? Anything to add, M. Bourgon?
Non, c'est un peu plus haut que ce qu'on avait budgété là, à la session du budget de l'an passé, mais avec vérification des références que cette firme-là a fait avec d'autres projets, puis ils travaillent également, c'est eux qui font la conception du rond-point au chemin Saint-Pierre et Saint-Guillaume. Donc, je suis confiant là, que ce projet-là va bien aller, pour avoir un bon produit là, à la fin. Puis j'espère revenir au conseil assez rapidement pour donner une mise à jour là, à l'intersection du chemin Limoges et la route 300.
Merci beaucoup, M. Bourgon. S'il n'y a pas d'autres questions, we'll continue to the next item. Item H, post replacement for the cooling tower at Russell Arena, report PR 09-2020. The council receives report PR 09-2020 dated May 4, 2020 and approves 1, to proceed with formal invitations for the Russell Arena cooling tower post replacement, and 2, that the HVAC project for the Camille Piché Community Center be postponed to 2021, and 3, an amount of $86,000 becoming available from the HVAC project be used to finance the cooling tower post replacement project. Questions, comments, members of council?
I have one.
Councillor Tanoski?
So we went through a whole process here where we turned down a couple of bids because they were not submitted by hard copy, and that's just a law. We couldn't go anything around that, correct? Like it was just a process.
Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Members and Council. Yes, there was one, in fact, at the last formal RFQ that was sent by email, and as per the purchasing policy, it was not accepted, and it was clearly mentioned in our tender also.
Okay, and so now there's no more issue around that, like because everything's electronic now, right? Like everything across the township for tendering.
We're going to be, yeah, we're going to be using bids and tenders. That's right.
Okay, so because this project started at something that should have been about 10K, and now we can't find a company that's willing to do it, or it's 25 to 50K, right?
Well, the 23, yeah, sorry. I think the 23,000 would have been acceptable. It's just that it was not the right time to do it. And also, like the consultant mentioned, like the 44, that one was not in the market price. Okay. So that's why that one is rejected.
Okay, merci.
Parfait. D'autres questions? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, Madame Guittard?
No, thank you. We want to proceed with this to get this done before, because we're very optimistic that the arenas will be opening in September.
Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the next item, reports from investigator or the ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, notice of motions. We have none. Item 14, question period on meeting of the day. Our question period has been open for a while. I'll give a moment, I'll give a minute for anyone if you have a question. Simply type in question coming, and then we know there's a question coming. And then you can take your time to type your actual question out. So we'll just give a minute here for the public to be able to ask a question. There can be a time lag between the actual discussion and when it's broadcast to the public. There is a little bit of a lag there. Therefore, we want to make sure that we give ample time to our residents to ask a question. To our clerk or our deputy clerk, the one running the background, do we know if we have any members of the public who are watching?
No questions at the moment, and we do have 2 attendees.
2 attendees, okay. All right, so we've given a few minutes and nobody has asked a question, so we'll move on to the next item. The next one is resolutions. So the first resolution was in regards A, the notice motion for the procedural bylaw presented at April 20th meeting, which was moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Tarnowski, and reads as following. Whereas our procedural bylaw under section 10.3.11 allows for a public question period on the meeting of the day, and whereas during a public meeting held in council chamber located at town hall, it is easy to see a member of the public come up to the lectern in order to pose a question. And whereas during electronic virtual meetings held during an emergency situation, it is possible to see when guests anonymously are viewing our meeting. It is, however, quite impossible to verify whether they wish to ask a question or not. And whereas council still wishes to give members of the public an opportunity to ask questions, however, does not wish to have ombudsman complaints filed against them regarding question period not being available for members of the public due to unforeseen reasons. And whereas the current procedural bylaw does not address this potential situation, now therefore be it resolved that during electronic virtual meetings during this COVID-19 pandemic or in future declared emergency, the question period on the meeting of the day may still be included in the agenda. However, given all possible issues and challenges already present under this form of meeting, it is not a requirement under the procedural bylaw to have a public question period. And further be it resolved that council members are still available via different communication methods to answer residents' questions should they arise. And further be it resolved that council encourages residents to discuss their matters of importance with members of council if they so wish. And further be it resolved that during a council meeting held electronically, both the national anthem and the prayer are to be removed from the agenda. And we had a proposal puis un appuyeur pour ça. So I'll open the floor up to members of council if they have questions on this notice of motion.
I have a question.
Conseil Lorrain?
So I understand everything about it, and my question is, would we continue to allow a 2-minute time frame for them to ask a question at that time period, understanding that we have now allowed them to, we've opened the public question period right from the start of the meeting, and that we would acknowledge any questions that are there at that time? Or would we give them 2 minutes? I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking, is if it's, and I agree with the concept. I understand what you're trying to do. I just want to make sure if somebody were to ask a question when we got to section 14 or whatever it is, questions on meeting of the day, A, would we answer any questions that were there? And B, would we still allow 2 minutes to type in a new question? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, so essentially it's the same, follow the same process we have now. It's exactly the same process. It's simply if somebody, for example, somebody on the other end is having technical difficulties, we have no idea they're having a technical difficulty, they would have liked to ask a question. Well, they can't turn around and make an ombudsman complaint because they weren't able to ask the question. We'll still have the same process. It will still be, the question period will still be listed on the agenda. It is, however, no longer a requirement under the procedural bylaw to do so. But yes, the intention is to have it as status quo. We will answer questions if they come up.
Then for me, I'm okay with this. I mean, this is a challenging time, and I believe that the members of the public should understand that we are doing our best to provide an open meeting as we are required under the legislation, and that we're doing our best to allow for questions, even though that's something that we allow for. It's not necessarily what every municipality allows for. And in this time of emergency pandemic situations, of virtual council meetings, that we're doing everything that we are possibly able to do to allow for those questions. Therefore, I agree with this with this notice of motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions from members of council? Hearing none, so we have a mover and a seconder, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, from left to right?
Yes.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, anyone against? Hearing none, that is carried. B, a motion that council approves all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from departments and council committees. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Ternosky. You guys okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Wait.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, carried. We'll move on to section 16, bylaws. Motion that council approve bylaws 2020-053 to 2020-55 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. 2050-53 being a bylaw to establish the 2020 final tax rate for all categories under report FS 12-2020. 2020-054 being a bylaw to authorize the county municipal roads transfer funds agreement between the UCPR and the Township of Russell under report FS 13-2020. 2020-055 being a bylaw to authorize the entry into an agreement with BT Engineering Inc. for the design of 4 intersections along Route 300 in Emblem, report IS PW 11-2020. So we're voting on these 3 first ones. Moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. You guys are okay with that?
Yes.
Pourquoi qu'on ne fait pas la 56?
Le 56, il est juste séparé, on va le faire après.
Ah, OK, c'est qui étaient tous ensemble, c'est ça que je demandais, là. OK.
Ouais, 53, 55, puis après
Ok.
ça, 56 va être séparé.
OK, c'est parfait. Oui, j'accepte.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I think I heard everybody on that one. Anyone opposed? These 3 bylaws are carried.
Wasn't that
Excuse-
just, sorry, Mr.
Ouais,
Mayor,
c'est-
wasn't that
c'est-
just for the mover and the seconder?
Oui, c'était ça. C'est juste, j'ai demandé la question, mais tu avais demandé à moi puis à Cindy pour.
Hey, Sorry,
puis
so it was
on n'a pas
okay
eu
for
le vote.
the mover and the seconder. I'll call for the actual vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
Oui.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next one. 2020-56 being a bylaw to amend the procedural bylaw 2019-020 for the notice of motion presented on April 20th, 2020. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Councillor Saucier. You're okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Move on, 17, new business reports. We have none. Item 18, business presented by council members. We have none. Item 19, public consultations and hearings. We have none. Item 20, closed session. Motion to move into closed meeting at the hour of 7:09 p.m. to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, to consider matters relating to 1, working conditions for employees, verbal report under Section 2D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Item 2, working conditions for employees, report SSCS 07-2020 under Section 2D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Item 3, update on a proposed or pending acquisition of land in Emblem, verbal report Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And 4, closed session minutes of the A, special council meeting dated April 2nd, 2020, B, regular council meeting dated April 6, 2020, and C, regular council meeting dated April 20th, 2020. Need a mover and a seconder to go into closed session. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Conseiller Brisson.
Yep.
Oui.
Okay. All those in favor?
Wait.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so we're now entering closed session. For those who are watching in the audience, members of council will leave this meeting. We'll sign into a closed session meeting. And once we're done that closed session meeting, members of council will be logging back into this one to finish that. So members of council will now leave this meeting, and we'll give you time to log into the other one. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. We're slowly waiting for everybody to log back in. Can everybody hear me?
Oui.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes.
OK, parfait. Madame Roy? Mademoiselle?
Oui, excuse, ça gelait. Ah, je vais juste le mettre live. You're back on.
Perfect, thank you very much. We'll continue report out of closed session. Madame Camille Laflamme? Your micro is muted if you're talking. There we go.
Sorry, yes, merci. So we're back at 8:36 p.m. For the first item, council was briefed on the subject and direction given to staff on how to proceed, and that a further report be brought back to council at a later time. For item 2, council was briefed on the subject, and as a result of the closed session, a motion will be presented for council's consideration in just a minute after I'm done. For the third one, council was briefed on the subject and a direction given to staff how to proceed. And the 3 closed session minutes of April 2nd, 6th, and 20th were presented and adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, Madame Camille Laflamme. So I'll let you read out the bylaw.
So for the motion, that council receives report CS 07-2020 dated May 4th, 2020, and that council adopts the proposed bylaw. Motion that council approves bylaw 2020-057 for first, second, and third reading. And this is a bylaw to confirm the revised student part-time salary structure as of May 4th, 2020.
Okay, parfait. Merci, Madame Camille Laflamme. So moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. You guys okay with that?
Oui.
Oui.
Okay. All those in favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Yes.
Jimmy?
Councillor Lorraine's muted. Oh, we got enough for the vote. So anybody against?
Sorry about that. I thought I was open.
All right. Everybody's good? Nobody has anything? Okay, so the bylaw is carried. So we go to the confirming bylaw, that bylaw 2020-058, Madame Laflamme?
Yes, that's correct.
058 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the township of Russell at its regular council meeting held on May 4, 2020. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Conseiller Lorraine, seconded by Councillor Saucier. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Yeah.
Yes.
No one opposed? Carried. Item 22, our next regular public meeting of council will be held on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. And we are adjourned at 8:39 p.m.
Mr. Mayor,
Whoops.
Well,
Mr.
yes.
Mayor, can I just add something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Saucier.
I just want to wish all the mothers at Township and also who are in our community a happy Mother's Day this Sunday.
Yes, totally agreed. Thank you very much, Councillor Saucier. With that, we are now adjourned. 8:40 p.m. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No problem whatsoever. It's part of
Thank you.
life. We're good.
Everybody.
Thank
Bonsoir,
you.
merci. Bye-bye.
Merci.